rarely talks, but when the commander of the Air Force, one of the most senior and influential officers on the general staff, takes part in a Zoom conversation with members of Israel's Pilots Association, there are going to be headlines.
During this coronavirus period, the Air Force was operational on a wider scale than it was in the period before the virus. If I look back at the past 5 months, in the 2 months of the coronavirus, the scale of our activities on all fronts is wider than the 2 months before the virus, not allowing Iranian activities on the northern front, not permitting strategic activities in Lebanon.
To illustrate this through numbers, in the last months, foreign reports say that around 1,000 anti-aircraft missiles were fired at aircraft attacking in Syria, and pilots found themselves destroying dozens of Syrian anti-aircraft batteries. And if, in this time of coronavirus, terrorism against Israel has diminished, the situation is changing.
What I want to tell you is that despite coronavirus, the activities of our enemies who operate against us, in some instances, they were reduced, but in the past few weeks, the scope of these activities has returned.
The Air Force continues to operate despite coronavirus, with the possibility of a second wave breaking out, requiring exceptional readiness, separating units and people.
It's not that now I'm worried that I'm going to have hundreds of fatalities. Rather, I'm worried that isolation is going to be widespread, as if there's a virus inside the Air Force command bunker, in the control unit, or in a squadron, then entire units will enter isolation and exit the order of battle. And for me, this is very worrying, because in the long run, it can leave the Air Force less prepared and less professional.
Getting its air crews back to readiness. On the one hand, it's closing fighter squadrons. On the other, pushing to get permission for equipment from the U.S. The Air Force lags seriously in the need for new aircraft needed to maintain its professionalism and qualitative edge. The ultimate mission doesn't stop.
lot of our leaders are not being brave. They're allowing the mob to run rampant. Tonight, there is new leaked audio from Chicago that shows exactly what was going on behind the scenes. It's remarkable, and not surprisingly, our chief breaking news correspondent, Trace Gallagher, has it all on tape. Trace?
Hi, Tucker. This was a conference call on Sunday, May 31st, to talk about Chicago's response to the widespread looting. On the call were Mayor Lori Lightfoot and all 50 Chicago aldermen and alderwomen, including Alderman Raymond Lopez, one of the mayor's harshest critics. Now, for context, on the day of the conference call, Chicago had 699 arrests, mostly looters. 132 officers were injured. There were 48 shootings, 17 homicides, and Alderman Lopez accused the mayor of being underprepared as the looting spread, saying his ward had become a virtual war zone.
Now, maybe you've noticed what I've noticed. When they know the cameras are rolling, most Democrats will go to great lengths to say how much they care about black people. Yet weekend after weekend of horrific killings of African Americans in Chicago, and nary a peep from them. No demands that leadership be improved, that cases be solved, that murder charges be filed. No visits to family members usually. And why? Because there's no political leverage in those situations. That's why. Instead, the same folks who complained about President Trump's walk across Lafayette Park pretend to show how much they empathize by just producing silly political theater. Yesterday, the moment was so rife with emotion that one congresswoman used the occasion to check her cell phone. See her in the back? And not only did the entire Democrat Party ditch social distancing over the past few weeks, now their leaders are totally fine with cultural misappropriation. Look at Nancy there. When proposals to bring back jobs are what we need, all they have are props. It's so insulting. And beyond that, it's just embarrassing. And how utterly ineffective. Disadvantaged communities have been drowning in liberal rhetoric for years. But what are the results? Well, for the media coverage, politicians like D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser will order government employees to paint streets with the woke message du jour. Yet what she does not want to defend is her party's opposition to school choice in the district, which relegates black youth to underperforming schools. Well, she hopes, I think, that if young African Americans end up believing that America is going to be always against them, that they won't notice how lame her own leadership has been. But when they don't know the microphones are turned on, we occasionally hear truth from prominent liberals in Congress, such as this revealing press conference about the George Floyd protests from New York Congressman Eliot Engel.
There's just too many folks here.
I guess Democrats think you're so stupid that you don't see through their pathetic play acting. And by the way, speaking of bad actors, here's Chicago's Mayor Lori Lightfoot.
Driving around the south and west side, seeing neighborhoods devastated by looting. Shop owners literally crying tears because so much of their whole body and person was invested in setting up and running these businesses, only to see their hopes dashed.
I thought you couldn't say buildings matter too. Well, my friends, what you just saw from Lori Lightfoot is a poor attempt at damage control. Because yesterday, everyone in Chicago, and even today, was talking about audio obtained by a local news station, TTW. And it was from a May 31st conference call between Lightfoot and the city aldermen. All of them, by the way, are Democrats, mind you. Now, during the conversation, aldermen were literally crying and distraught over the horrendous destruction in their neighborhoods that they represent.
My ward is a show. It's cop cars burning, banks burning. We had to put the bridges up. They're shooting at the police. It wasn't a protest. It wasn't anything like this. Business owners that are sitting there with shotguns in their hands because they're scared somebody's gonna come. You know, it's like, what are we gonna have left in our community? Nothing.
Nothing. And you want to know
know something? I've worked really hard over the last 7 years. And now I feel like I'm 5 feet back. 5 steps back.
I'm ground zero. That's how I feel about it. My major business district is just shattered. You lose the 2 biggest icons. Why would Walmart or CVS come back to our communities?
Well, she was prescient. There are reports today that Walmart may indeed not reopen stores in the riot-stricken areas of Chicago. Well, can you really blame them? Or frankly, any other businesses wanting to cut their losses and head for the exits at this point? Who would want to risk real money in cities run by mayors who basically think, again, when the cameras or microphones aren't on, that looters and criminals should be given room to express themselves? Expect other blue cities to see the same exodus. In Minneapolis, nearly 500 businesses were damaged or destroyed during the mostly peaceful protests. Rioters burned down a major manufacturing plant that stood in the city for 30 plus years. It's going to be rebuilt, just not in Minneapolis. But like Lightfoot in Chicago, Jacob Pajama Boy Fry doesn't seem to care that businesses vacate his city. What's worse, they're just blasé when challenged about protecting their own citizens. Here's an alderman pressing Lightfoot about the slow response of the Chicago PD.
Mayor, can I just say one thing on that? The police do not engage early before the crowds get big.
I will tell you, Alderman Dow, I know that you have some specific concerns, and you and I have discussed them briefly. I've been on calls all day asking people to step up and use their voices in their network and distinguish between righteous First Amendment protests and what we're seeing all over our city, which is just criminal conduct.
Ooh, use their voices? Well, that's going to bring back jobs and confidence and solve the crime problem. What is she even talking about? But it gets worse. At one point, Alderman Raymond Lopez is going to join us in just a moment. He'd had enough and directly confronted Mayor Lightfoot and her cliches, or bromides, and he focused on both the violence and her role in stoking it.
Half our neighborhoods are already obliterated. It's too late. We have to come up with a better plan, because my fear is once they're done looting and rioting and whatever's going to happen tonight, God help us. What happens when they start going after residents, going into the neighborhoods? Once they start trying to break down people's doors so they think they got something, and you've got them all pumped today, they're not going to go to bed at 8 o'clock. I've got gangbangers with AK-47s walking around right now, just waiting to settle some scores. What are we going to do, and what do we tell our residents other than good faith people stand up? It's not going to be enough.
Thank you, Alderman. Next question.
Well, no, I want an answer. You commented on everybody. I want an answer. It's not something you ignore. This is a question that I have.
I think you're 100% full of what I think. If you think
no offense,
hold on.
Who are you to tell me I'm full?
And if you think we were not ready and we stood by and let the neighborhood go up, there's nothing intelligent that I can say to you.
Well, maybe you should come out and see what's going on.
This is the stupidest thing I have ever heard. I understand you want to preen. I understand that you think that you...
Mayor, you need to check your attitude. That's what you need to do.
Wow. That's all I can say is wow.